All right, next, folks, let's talk about unemployment rate. I think this is really important, Patrick, because we have this pause in the rate hikes, which is great. I mean, all investors love that. And I think that you're going to see what's interesting is that the unemployment rate for Canada in general has been ticking up. Now we're going to look at it by province as well. But the first chart I want to put up is the Canadian numbers, and you could see as of April 2023, that was kind of the low. It was at 5% there, and it stayed at 5% for many months from December 2022 to April 2023. And then it started ticking up 5.2, 5.4, 5.5. And we're about to get another one here soon. We're going to get the August numbers very, very soon. The point there, Patrick, is that now I'm not debating, Patrick. So
are you sure?
Calm down. I know this gets you all aggravated. I'm not debating whether this is right or wrong, but from the Bank of Canada's perspective, this is one of the metrics they look at. And it's been ticking up, and that's what they want to see. They want to see unemployment go up. They don't want this inflation to get baked into the economy in wages. By the way, it kind of is. We'll show a different chart on that. But they are showing that the unemployment rate is going up. And this could be partially why they decided, listen, it's working. Let's just take a pause and breathe.
Yeah, well, you and I have talked about it many times on previous shows, and the unemployment rate nationally has been far too low. 5% is not a healthy unemployment rate, and to the point of what it does is, it impacts pressure on wage growth. Employers can't find good help, so they can't grow. And then, of course, working conditions are tough because a job that should take 6 people, you've only got 4 available. So, the working conditions are not ideal. So 5% is not great. I agree with the Bank of Canada in this case that it should in fact increase. I would like to see it increase, and we'll talk about Alberta shortly, but when we get into that 5%, 5.5%, we're still low. That sweet spot for unemployment is just the reality of it, and history will actually, prove that out, which is that 6 to even as high as 7% is a far healthier unemployment rate because it manages costs, it manages wage growth, and then overall things can sort of level out and costs can actually come down.
So let's look at the unemployment rate by provinces now, Patrick. You can see, of course, you highlighted Alberta being Mr. Alberta. You took the liberty of highlighting it in green to show the growth happening in Alberta. I'm sure that's what you're psychologically thinking there. But essentially from worst to best, Newfoundland and Labrador being at kind of the worst unemployment rate, which is kind of normal for them. Their unemployment's always a little bit high. We don't have a historical chart here, but it'd be interesting to compare it against that. And Quebec being under 5%, same as Manitoba, and Saskatchewan just bang on 5%. I mean, you got the tightest markets there in the country versus the kind of not so tight ones, Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, and Nova Scotia as well.
Well, there's a couple of things around unemployment. It's, when we even look at population growth, we haven't really touched on it. I'm going to use it just as an example. Of course, when we talk about not trusting the government, and I know that you kind of go, I get agitated. Well, I think that we should be able to trust the numbers. And the reality of it is around population growth, the stats can missed by 1 million people. 1 million people
you had one job.
They missed by in terms of non-residential or non-permanent residents that came into this country. How do you miss by 1 million? So the point is what can we trust for data? And so when we even look at unemployment rates, I look at them and I have to believe them, but I have to also kind of be guarded around where I'm making decisions. Now, this is all to say this, is that when we look at the unemployment numbers, there's a part of it that they don't tell you about, which is where are those numbers? So in other words, what from a point of view of an industry, what are those jobs? How much full-time jobs? How many people are working 2 or 3 full-time jobs to pay their bills? I mean, there's a lot of things and a lot of nuances that we have to go into to unpack unemployment. So all I'm saying is this, is that this low unemployment rate, if you look at certain sectors, it's going to be far higher than in other sectors. That's what I'm saying in regards to all of this. So we just have to continue to unpack it.
And of course, it's very regional, right? Just so investors know, as you should have tattooed on your forehead, please, real estate is regional. And, the Canadian unemployment number means nothing to you as a real estate investor. Even the provincial number, Patrick, has a little bit more meaning, but not that much more, especially if you're a big province like Ontario, because there's so many different cities in Ontario. The question is what's happening in your particular city. And we don't have all the cities' unemployment rate, but I encourage investors to research that and find their number for the city they actually invest in. Of course, Mr. Alberta over there has so graciously put together the numbers for Alberta because it looks like we're pro Alberta here. But
well, like, there's a couple of things. There's a couple of things, JJ.
You got Calgary, you got Calgary, you got Edmonton in here.
Yes, I did. So we're in that 6.2 range in Edmonton and in Calgary, by the way. The reason I put Alberta and I put emphasis on there is when you look at Manitoba and when you look at Saskatchewan, great provinces, but very small population in the scope of things, 1.2, 1.3 million for the whole province. So we have to consider that. Secondly, when we look at what's happening in Alberta, we're also seeing a lot of investor capital move into Calgary,
primarily because of this show. I mean,
yeah, we're driving it all. The point is, all three of our viewers, the point is this, is that, the shining a light on a province that is doing well gives people, some reason to do their diligence and look into where they can put their capital to work. And certainly Calgary, Lethbridge, a couple of different cities in Alberta are very strong. Now, I caution everybody, this came up in the conversation I had yesterday with the realtors when Q&A period that I did with them. Somebody asked me about Grand Prairie. Well, as you know, JG, Grand Prairie was my backyard. I owned a lot of real estate in that. My joint venture partner bought me out, and I'm happy he did. But at the end of the day, when we look at Grand Prairie, a population of 50, 60,000, I don't know what the most recent numbers are, but the point is this. I still believe Grand Prairie is an oil and gas town. It is a one-horse town for the most part. Now, somebody from Grand Prairie would argue that point, but I am suggesting that if something comes off with oil and gas, Grand Prairie gets affected. So if you're investing in Grand Prairie, you're going to get great cash flows. You're going to be buying great deals, relatively speaking, but you have to be very aware of the fact that if oil and gas does come off, and I'll even say when it comes off, Grand Prairie is going to feel it.
Another little prediction right there. Hey, another little prediction. Hey, just as a side note, Patrick, we just got to ask this question because I think you got to be transparent with people, which is, are you on the province's payroll by chance? Like, are you like a promoter for the province? I'm just checking.
Hey, well, listen, what can I tell you? When I go where it makes sense to go economically, that's it. And politically. So
classic politician move there. You totally skirted the question. I think people are going to wonder now if you're on province's payroll. So I think you got to answer it. We're going to call you the ambassador from now on.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead. I love Alberta. And I love Ontario too, by the way. I love Ontario.
You love Peterborough, but Peterborough is not a good market, folks. Don't come invest in Peterborough. It's not a good market. Stay away. Yeah, unlike Patrick, I'm not promoting Peterborough. Just stay away from Peterborough.
Mm-hmm. If you like what you learned here, go to the description below and subscribe for our free Insiders newsletter, where you can also stay up to date for our upcoming events and our courses.
If you want to see more stuff like this, click here. If you want to see the entire show, click there.